Welcome to Job Tips, the career development channel. Now in this video, I'm going to give you several questions that you probably haven't thought about that an interviewer might ask. Those questions are coming up. Okay, so you're going to have the interview, right? And you think that they're going to ask you questions about the job that you did and how much time you spent with the last company and some successes you had along the way, and you think it's going to be a cakewalk interview. No offense if you think that, but that's common. Well, there are many questions that come up in interviews that you just kind of can't prepare for ahead of time unless you kind of know what those questions are. Questions that you will get that you never thought that they'd ever ask, and they take you completely off guard. Well, I've got a number of questions here I'm going to share with you that came from R.L. Stevens & Associates a long time ago. They are appropriate today. I'm going to just share them with you quickly. Not going to go into any explanation about these questions, but these are questions I want you to hear, to see, and to think about if you're going into an interview. These are questions that you want to be able to have answers for, okay? There won't be a bunch of pop-ups on this video. This is just going to be a matter of you can play them back, okay? But jot down answers to these questions and think about these before you go into an interview, all right? Putting on my reading glasses here. So, are you ready? Because I certainly am. Questions concerning your reasons for a job change. These kind of questions come up. Why are you interested in joining our company? Why are you looking to change jobs? Or what's wrong with the present company or the job or the boss? Where will you be in 5 years? When you retire? Why were you passed over for a promotion on the former job? Or why did your business fail? Maybe you were in business for yourself. How would you characterize your ideal job? What interests you most or least about this job? How long would you stay with us? Now, before I continue, I want to make a note. Make some comments down below as far as experiences that you've had in interviews about questions that came up that you completely were not prepared for and that threw you for a loop and cost you maybe that job. Or maybe you had a question come up that where did that come from, and you were able to, let's say, fix the situation, but you were quick on your feet and you came up with a good response. And I'm going to make a note also toward the end, a really good bonus point at the end of this video you don't want to miss regarding all of these questions in a nutshell. You don't want to miss that. So follow me on this. This will not take that long. Questions concerning your experience and the education. What special training did you have for this position? Describe your education and school activities. How long would it take for you to make a contribution here? Describe a few situations in which your work was praised and in which it was criticized. What would you do to improve your operations? Have you fired people before? Hired them? What criteria did you use to make employment decisions? What are your major accomplishments in your last job and in your career? What weaknesses and strengths have you found in past supervisors? That's a tricky one. Do you have a preference for line or staff work, and why? Have you helped to reduce costs? Have you increased sales or profits, and how? Do you think you have management potential? Why? Why do you think that? In your present position, how have you changed the nature of the work? How do you relate to subordinates? How do you relate to supervisors? Can you work under deadline pressure? What did you like or dislike most about this job that you just left or that you're leaving? Have you ever worked for a woman? For someone from a minority group? Describe your experience in that. Describe the biggest obstacle you've ever encountered in your career. Now, concerning salary issues, some of these questions might be, what salary do you require? Or what are you worth? Wow, what are you worth? Give that some thought. What is your salary history for the past 5 years? Why haven't you advanced financially? What is the minimum pay you will accept? Now, questions concerning potential objections. Don't you think you're a little too old or too young for this position? Now, that's a question that kind of borders on gray area, illegal to ask or talk about in interviews, but companies do. Okay? So be ready for it. We prefer people with more experience or different educational credentials. I'd like a statement, and then you answer it how. Think about that, right? Be prepared for that kind of question, and how would you respond to it, or that kind of statement? Don't you think you're more suited to a different industry? Maybe a different sized company? So you got to be able to think on your feet with these kinds of questions. Because if you really want that job, you better be ready for some of these questions, because in the interview, they may not be entirely sold just yet on you. Your job is to sell the fact that you're the right one for the job. So have some answers in mind for these kinds of questions. What weaknesses on or off the job do you have that I should know about? There goes that weakness question again. Explain the gaps in your employment history. Maybe you had some gaps. Be prepared to explain those honestly. When they do a background check, they're likely going to find out the truth. So if you lie about the gaps in your job history, and they find out, you will not get hired. So questions or statements concerning personal characteristics. Watch this. How is your health? What are your outside activities? What books or periodicals have you read lately? What are your long-term and short-term goals? Are you sensitive to others' viewpoints? Give me an example of your creativity or other characteristics pertinent to the job. So they may say, for example, give me an example of your creativity, or give me an example of some other characteristic. Give me an example of this or that. Be prepared for certain of those types of questions. What is your management philosophy? And other questions or statements. We require a battery of tests for all new employees. It aids in placement. How do you feel about that? Are you willing to put in extensive overtime and travel? What about relocation? What references can you provide, including business, personal, and credit references? What are the most important problems faced by management in this industry? You might get that question. Be prepared. How would you judge yourself as a manager, leader, or professional? And if you had your choice of jobs in companies, where would you go? Okay? Think about that. A lot of questions there. Now, are you ready for the bonus? Here's the bonus. In every situation, in every question, the response that you give should never denigrate your former employer or your former boss or supervisors, managers, executives in the former companies that you worked for, industries, what have you. Always make sure your responses have a positive twist. So if the question is something like, what didn't you like about this, or what don't you like about that, or about this person or that person, be sure that you've thought this out and maybe respond in a positive way about a truth that's not offensive, but then it turned into something positive. You think through that. But don't ever say, well, I really hated my boss because of this, or I really couldn't stand the company's position on that. That will not help you in the interview, okay? I hope this has helped you. Please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the video. Share this video with others. Like, subscribe to the channel, please. I would be most grateful. And also hit that notification bell to not miss any new videos that come out. Well, for job tips, I hope you get and keep the kind of job and career that you want to have.